Welcome to lben Tea House, I'm lben. So, what's up today? It's Qingming Festival, the day when we Chinese have the tradition of honoring our ancestors since ancient times. Customs vary from place to place, but on this day, everyone remembers their forebears and inspires the next generations. Today, let's share a story about tomb sweeping on Qingming that happened a long time ago. Nowadays, people are much busier, with all the events like Ghost Festival on July 15th, and the New Year's celebrations, not to mention the Qingming Festival we're talking about today. It's customary to visit the graves several times a year, but no one can guarantee they'll be free on the exact day. So I won't speak for the past, but it's common now to visit the graves before the actual date. Burning paper offerings is a widespread practice. Just look, 5 or 6 days before Qingming this year, I saw people burning paper at the crossroads in the evening. That's quite normal. Now, the story we're going to talk about today was told by a young guy. He's not old, but his parents passed away early. Because he had 2 houses back in his hometown, he moved back to the county after graduating from college. The self-awareness of young people these days is particularly strong, and living in this county, he sometimes feels discontent. His college friends in Beijing, Shanghai, Guangdong, and Shenzhen are all doing well, making good money, living life to the fullest. And let's not forget about those who don't lack money and are just looking for happiness in places like Xiamen, Sanya, Lijiang, and Dali. Flip through the social media feeds, and it's all about someone enjoying an opera today, or another trying scuba diving tomorrow. Now that's what you call living life. He envies them. Then he looks at his own life, where the air quality index shouts severe pollution every single day. The more he thought about it, the more frustrated he became. He reminded himself, life is not just about scraping by, there are also fields to be had in the distance. He had no attachments, no prospects for development in his current situation, so he figured he might as well sell his houses and find a new place to live. His family owned 2 residential properties, worth more than a couple of $100,000 altogether. But as with anything, if you're in a rush to sell, you won't get a good price. Just throwing it out there to sell, and in the end, a real estate agent said. Apart from Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen, just look at the housing prices across the country. They're not firm at all, especially in our small county town. It's a good thing if they don't drop in price. How about it? We'll take care of you. $50,000 for both properties, cash paid in one lump sum. If you think it's a deal, just pick a day, bring the property deed, and come over to us to get things done. Nowadays, you can't figure out government offices. Real estate agents expedite property sales faster than the housing authority. Car dealers handle license demerit point reductions faster than the traffic police, and the underworld recovers debts faster than the courts. So the guy decided to settle it. Thinking that something might come up on the day of Qingming Festival itself, he decided to go to the ancestral grave a bit earlier, on the 31st, to collect some paper offerings and have a chat with his deceased parents, grandparents, and bid them farewell. It sounded like a good plan. Early that morning, with the purchased paper offerings and paper-made gold ingots and gold bars for the ancestors, plus the property deed packed in his bag, he prepared to sell the house after sweeping the tomb. Their family's ancestral grave was in the mountains, at a place called Beishi Mountain. It was chosen by the elders for its favorable feng shui with a flat terrain situated above the water and wind. Arriving at the grave, there's a certain etiquette for tomb sweeping. You start by cleaning the tombstone, then clearing away the wild grass. After that, you have to place a paper note on top of the grave mound. This paper money, once you bring it out and place a stone on the grave mound, serves 2 purposes. First, it notifies passers-by that the grave has been visited by descendants, preventing anyone from thinking it's an unattended lonely grave and flattening it. Second, it's said that this paper connects heaven and the underworld, ensuring that only after it has been placed can your offerings of paper money and treasures reach the other side. During regular ancestral worship, it's okay to use ordinary yellow paper. However, if there's a happy event in the family, like a grandson getting married, then you have to use red paper. And there are specifics on how many notes to place, depending on family circumstances, like for a widowed grandmother or when both grandparents are buried together. As peculiar as it seems, there's a history to these traditions. For instance, once Emperor Liu Bang established the Han Dynasty, he wanted to return to his hometown to pay respect to his ancestors, as honoring one's roots is deeply ingrained in Chinese culture. Zhu Yuanzhang, who became the emperor after him, posthumously named his father the renowned emperor and his grandfather the Jade Emperor. Originally, both had died in poverty, never imagining they'd be named emperors. Thus, Lu Bang's returning home was to bestow titles upon his ancestors. But granting titles was one thing, making sure they'd be recognized by the heavens was another. So when Lu Bang returned to Pei County, an old man greeted him. "Emperor Lu, you've become the emperor, I'm your uncle, aren't I?" Lu Bang was annoyed, telling him to mind his words and inquired about his father's grave, which he was too young to remember. The old man replied, "I personally buried your father. Let me take you there." The eunuchs quickly assisted the national uncle to the site. A group of people arrived at a burial site known as a disorderly graveyard. The aunt said, "Look, this is your father's grave, pick any one." What did she mean? In a disorderly graveyard, people are buried haphazardly, and with so many years past, who knew where to find the specific spot? Lu Bang was displeased. "This is outrageous. How can all these be my father's grave?" He became so angry that he threw a stack of joss paper he was holding into the air, and something strange happened. All the papers drifted away with the wind, flying far and wide, except for one piece. It was as if an invisible hand in the sky was guiding it, and it landed vertically on top of a particular grave mound. Everyone present kneeled down and exclaimed, "Long live my lord, long live forever." Since that incident, it became a custom for people to place a piece of paper on top of the grave mound to express their remembrance of their ancestors. Similarly, Xiao Mao also placed a paper note on the gravestone, then arranged offerings like melons, fruits, and peaches in front of the tombstone and started burning joss sticks. Throughout this process, the small bag he carried on his shoulder, containing the property deed, never left his side. As he burned the paper, he muttered, "Grandparents, Dad, Mom, take this money. I'll be selling the house soon and then leaving. When I make it big outside and earn millions, I'll move you all there." Just typical things one would say at a tomb. After finishing up at the grave, Xiao Mao descended the mountain and headed back to the county to meet the real estate agent as arranged. Xiao Mao checked the time. They had agreed to meet at 11 in the morning, but the other party hadn't arrived yet. This, apparently, was a tactic used by real estate agents, deliberately arriving late to gain the upper hand by making you feel anxious and desperate. Sure enough, at 11:30, two agents from the real estate company arrived, one of them carrying a bank paper bag. Upon seeing Xiao Mao, they said nothing about their late arrival. The first thing the agent said was, "Oh boy, there are way too many sellers recently. Our company is not really keen on buying anymore." Xiao Mao, young and inexperienced, broke out in a sweat upon hearing this. "What do you mean it's not okay? Didn't we agree? 50,000 today, no proof without payment." The deal wasn't finalized yet. "Look, the company's account doesn't have enough to make up the 50,000. Here's 42,000 in cash," he said while spreading out the money on the table. 4 big bundles, that's 40,000, and 2 small bundles, that's 2,000. "What do you say, man? If it's a deal, I'll give you the money now, and we'll do the paperwork on the spot." This was another tactic, hitting you sideways with their words. "See, our company isn't planning on buying properties anymore," they'd say to spook you, making you worry they might back out. Then, a heap of cash is placed before you, not the full 50,000, but it often clinches the deal. Why? Because when you verbally claim a property is worth 100,000 and refuse to sell for less, it's tough to bargain. But when the cash is physically there, people often think, it's not easy to sell anyway. If I just lower my price now, I can pocket the cash immediately, and the deal is done. That's why they say the city is full of deep tricks, but only because you haven't seen the cunning ways of the countryside. Under this relentless pressure, Xiao Mao thought, "Okay, I'm already taking a big loss on property worth nearly $500,000, why fret over 8,000? I'll just take the money." He asked for a contract, but when he opened his bag, he was stunned. "Where's my property deed? It was all in my bag this morning." He had planned to sell after visiting the graves, so it couldn't have been left at home. "This is truly bizarre," he thought, rummaging through his bag again, reaching deep inside. "What's this?" he mused, pulling something out that caught everyone off guard. What did he retrieve? 2 joss papers intended for use at the grave. The two agents looked at each other, then at Xiao Mao. "Is this what you typically carry around?" "No," Xiao Mao replied, bewildered. "I don't know what happened. I went to the grave this morning and remembered putting the deed and all the stuff in my pocket. How could it vanish? When did this paper get into my pocket?" He frantically continued to search through his backpack. Wallet, phone, keys, everything was in place except for the property deed, which remained missing despite turning his bag inside out. Seeing the situation, the agents left, disheartened. Let us know when you find it and give us a call, alright? 42,000, as we said. Not a penny more. Afterward, the two men departed. Xiao Mao held the two pieces of joss paper, mumbling to himself, the missing deed is odd enough, but when did I stuff these into my bag? Troubled, he couldn't sleep that night, thinking about the time wasted on getting the paperwork redone. He had already promised his friends he would rent a place in Xiong'an and look for a job. This delay was nothing but a hassle. That night, even his dreams were restless. He dreamt his grandparents and parents were still alive, doing household chores, cooking, cleaning, and watching TV. With the house full of life, he asked them, "Has anyone seen the property deed?" His grandpa said it was with Grandma. Grandma said she gave it to Mom. Mom told him to ask Dad, and Dad said Grandpa had it, just like that, going in circles. Xiao Mao's dream was elusive, and he slept through it until past 9 in the morning. Suddenly, there was a loud knocking at the door. Groggy with sleep, he got up to see. Yesterday, those two agents returned, this time with smiles plastered across their faces. "Brother Mao, we were just too busy yesterday. We left in such a hurry, please don't be mad." Xiao Mao was puzzled. "What's this about?" They went on, "See, we came to you to take care of the paperwork, and our boss said, you're young and want to sell your house to start a business, why limit it to $500,000? What about 580,000? If you agree, we can proceed now." Xiao Mao mentioned the deed. "Oh, don't worry about that, the procedures that need to be done can be done, and we can apply for a duplicate, that won't delay the transfer. Here's a contract, just sign it, it's valid." Hearing this, Xiao Mao was thrilled and quickly ushered the agents into the living room, telling them to watch TV while he boiled some water. Upon returning from the kitchen, one of the agents took out a property sales contract from Baoding, Hebei Province, Anshin County, and said, "Brother Mao, once you sign this, the 580,000 is all yours, leave the rest of the procedures to us." Right after these words were spoken, a news segment aired on TV. The CPC Central Committee and the State Council have recently issued a notice, deciding to establish the Hebei Xiong'an New Area. This is a major historical strategic decision made by the Party Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core. Following the Xinjiang Special Economic Zone and the Shanghai Pudong New Area, this is another new area of national significance, a Millennium Plan, a national event. The planning scope of the Xiong'an New Area involves Xiong County, Rongcheng, Anshin County, and surrounding areas. The General Secretary of the CPC Central Committee, President of the State, and Chairman of the Central Military Commission Xi Jinping has explicitly instructed to focus on creating a concentrated area to relieve Beijing of non-capital functions, to build a fast and efficient transportation network, promote institutional and mechanism reforms, and expand in all directions. After the news, the atmosphere turned quite awkward. Xiao Mao, holding the contract, then said, "Folks, there are too many people selling houses, don't get caught with it unsold." "Hey, isn't that right? We had a deal for 580,000 today," was the retort, reminding them of the lack of proof since nothing was finalized. The expressions of the agents as they exited Xiao Mao's house were described as extremely dismayed. In the days that followed, the news reported, and you, the viewers at home with your tea, have seen that in Xiong'an New Area, the property prices in those three counties have skyrocketed from about 4,000 to 5,000 yuan per square meter to 60,000 yuan per square meter. Xiao Mao spent these days wondering, if he hadn't lost the property deed on March 31st, what would his feelings be like now? Today is Qingming festival. Early in the morning, Xiao Mao took a lot of joss paper to his family's grave, planning to share some happy news. When he went to replace the paper note on the grave mound, he was shocked to find the missing property deed was exactly the one pressing down on the family grave. And so, that's today's story. Thank you for visiting lben Tea House.